The legislation, it protects same-sex and interracial marriages under federal law after passing with bipartisan support. And for more to talk about this, my co-anchor and ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moran. He is just outside the Supreme Court, along with our deputy political director Averi Harper and also Jay O'Brien up there on the Hill. So, Jay, let's just talk about what we can expect from today's bill signing, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts. Terry, with you.
Yeah, the White House is calling it a celebration of the passage of this historic legislation, something Speaker Pelosi called a historic moment, something she wanted to see before she ended her tenure as Speaker. We will see survivors of the Pulse nightclub shooting there, survivors of the Club Q shooting in Colorado Springs there. There will be a musical performance. Some of the original plaintiffs of the Obergefell Supreme Court case that gave the right to same-sex marriage will be there. So again, the White House is billing it as a celebration both for the White House, both for congressional Democrats and for those across the board, of the passage of this piece of legislation, something that was really sought after the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Terry, you know, there's been a lot of talk about what exactly the bill would do, but there's also been a lot of talk about where it falls short.
There has. First, where this bill comes from, it comes basically because of this opinion. This is Justice Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion. He wrote only for himself. No other justice joined him in the Supreme Court case that overturned the right to abortion. And what Thomas says in this opinion is, well, the right to gay marriage is based on the same legal reasoning that we used to discover a right for a woman to choose abortion. So he essentially says gay marriage could be next because, in Thomas's belief, the right to choose who you want to marry is was not known at the time of the writing of the Constitution or the passage of the amendments, and so it's not a constitutional right. Now, that really got political action going. And so this bill, the Respect for Marriage Act, was passed. It does a couple of things. First, it repeals an older law called the Defense of Marriage Act, where under federal law, marriage was defined as between one man and one woman. That's gone. And then this law now requires the federal government and all of the states to recognize any marriage that was legally performed in any state. What that doesn't say is that there is a new constitutional right restored or guaranteed for gay marriage, because the Congress can't do that. It also doesn't require every state to recognize gay marriages, but it does say where states do have it, every other state must recognize it. And so it also provides an exception, a kind of carve-out for religious groups who have religious or moral objections. They don't have to provide goods or services for gay marriage. They can't have their tax-exempt status denied because of that. A little bit for both. This is the best that Congress can do, but it comes essentially as a defense against what people are concerned the Supreme Court might do next.
Well, and there's concerns about the right to privacy and autonomy over intimate decisions, right, Terry?
That's right, but all of that could be up for grabs after the Supreme Court has overturned Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade was based on the notion that there is a right, a liberty that women have to choose what happens to their own bodies, certainly in the early stages of the pregnancy. Supreme Court overturned that. They said, unless a right is deeply rooted in our nation's history and traditions, it shouldn't be recognized by the Supreme Court. So now, as we see across the country, it's open season on the right to choose abortion. Thomas, in his concurrence, says, well, why should we recognize these other rights, including the right to marry whom you choose? And so because of that concern, that Congress, including a crucial number of Republicans, passed this Respect for Marriage Act.
And therein lies the issue, Averi, for the Biden administration and the potential uphill battles that this administration could face in the courts.
Right. This legislation does not prevent any state or individual from challenging the court precedents that created the rights for same-sex marriage or interracial marriage. And so that means that the work for those who want to protect those court precedents, it's not over. And the White House has really acknowledged as much. We expect to hear from the president later on today as he signs that legislation to also call for the passage of the Equality Act, which would expand civil rights for the LGBT community. And the president, as he has said it publicly, hopes that there is bipartisan support for making that happen.
And Jay, just to kind of bring it all together here while we wait for this live event, can we expect to see more bipartisan legislation, you think, in the new year, given the new layout of Congress with Republicans having the House majority?
Well, we've heard from both the White House, from House Republicans, from Senate Republicans and Democrats on the other side of the aisle that they all say they want to work together, but on what is one of those really open questions right now, Kira. The next Congress, when it comes in January, when the House is controlled by Republicans, will largely be, at least in the early days, defined by investigations into the Biden White House, into even the Biden family, into Hunter Biden. So how is there bipartisan cooperation as a result of those? Is something that hangs over this White House. Also, the looming fight over the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling has to be raised at some point in the new year. The nation's credit card limit, in a sense, has to be raised. And there's signals from Republicans that there might be a fight on that issue as well. So amidst all of that, is there some possibility for cooperation like we saw in this legislation? We're going to see the answers to that come January.
All right. Jay, Terry, Avery, thank you all so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.